Good afternoon. This is Dr. Saul Goldstein. The opinions expressed by these two, fellows, colored folks, may or may not be the opinions of their employers or mine. Holla at me.
Top top, they want top top. They love top top. They want top top. They love top top.
If I speak, I am in big trouble. In big trouble. And I don't want to be in big trouble.
So the East, man, they have some ideas about how things should go, and they did not want to see One Love armbands representing solidarity with the Pride, and they have been forced by FIFA to remove them. And if they decided to wear them, they would be yellow carded or fined. So it looks like England, Wales, Belgium, Denmark, Germany, the Netherlands, and Switzerland had all intended to wear the One Love rainbow armband. Um, yeah, none of them will be doing it. I also thought it was interesting that the United States was definitely not on that list, which is pretty funny to me because USA is like, listen, we got this shit in 2026. We trying to stay under the radar.
Yeah, we got our own problems here, bro.
No problems to deal with. We're gonna stay under the radar. So yeah, man, what are your thoughts on this? And do you think anyone should have accepted whatever fine or penalty there is for wearing the armband?
Um, First, I think this just kind of comes with the territory. Like now that the tournament's going on, like
Hmm.
FIFA's trying to do the best it can to I don't want to say sanitize the tournament for the Qataris, but they're definitely like trying to do as much as they can to get out in front of news cycles.
Yeah.
So like it totally makes sense to me that they would be like, all right, keep all this protest shit to a minimum on the field because that's
Yeah.
the last thing like you want is like when most of the eyes are going to be on the matches, like something like that to happen, and then from there like everybody's watching it and then it becomes like this giant conversation, like
Hmm.
so like although I don't agree with it, I understand like FIFA's media position there.
Hmm.
um I also understand the countries that back down, mainly because the and I tweeted this I tweeted this when it happened that the penalty for this is actually an on-field penalty that could really change the actual like dynamics of the game.
Hmm.
So I understand why a lot of teams back down because two yellow cards gets you a suspension. So if your
Two
captain,
period.
yeah, two period, two yellow cards period gets you a suspension. So if your
Hmm.
captain wears his armband, he goes into the game with a yellow card. Depending on the position of your captain, that like either drastically affects how he plays
Hmm.
or it just regularly affects how he plays, but it's going to
Hmm.
affect how like your captain plays to some degree, right?
Yeah.
And going into the first game, your captain gets a yellow for wearing this armband, then your captain gets another yellow throughout the game for some point, then your captain's not available for the next game. So like I don't agree with it personally, but like in terms of what FIFA is trying to do to sanitize it for the Qataris, I understand why they did it. And then I
Hmm.
also understand why like European nations back down from this because it was going to affect their on field chances to win.
Yeah, man. I always feel um annoyed, I guess is the word, by these situations because I'm always of the mind that here is your opportunity to prove the shit that you be talking about, right? And I feel like this is like a thing that happens in any sort of like resistance movement is people don't actually want to sacrifice anything. And that is the biggest driver is you have to be willing to give up something up to and including your life. Now, I don't want to get that heavy on the podcast, but that's just my mindset when it comes to these types of things, which is why I generally stay out of, most conversations about whatever outside of what we discuss here on the pod, is because like I'm like that. You know what I mean? So whatever I say I'm believing, I promise you I'm outside with that same energy. You know what I mean? So for these federations and players to um say, all right, well, they got us, you know what I mean? We're not gonna wear it. Like that's not the thing. It's like you really have to risk something, if not everything, including getting knocked out of the tournament early or, being, double carded and suspended for a game. You got to be able to risk all of that to actually affect change. Because if enough people do it and it affects enough for the tournament, now the conversation is about, well, we shouldn't have had this problem in the first place. Maybe. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. But just saying, all right, they got us and everybody just goes on as normal, I think is also not the way. Now, again, I understand Qatar is a very, very different way of life, culture, history, blah, blah, blah. But this is one of the largest issues that this game tends to support around the world. And so when you invite the world to come to your country for the World Cup, I think a part of that invitation is understanding that a lot of these people are coming from the West with a completely different set of ideas. And you have to find a happy medium. And I don't think that happy medium is just saying you can't wear pride t-shirts, you'll be arrested, no public displays of affection if you're gay. Like that shit is not the way, because then if some other host nation is trying to tell you as a Qatari, like, don't bring your whatever the traditional dress is over here. You can't wear this, you can't wear that, you can't do this. Like, I don't think that's right either. It is a celebration of the world and its cultures and the game of soccer primarily. So a part of that is understanding that you have a whole bunch of different ways to do things, but when we come together for this game and this tournament specifically, we are open and inviting to all people. And you know like it really comes down to, like, you literally said you can arrest people for being gay. That is not okay in this game. It's just not okay. And that has to be something that is in the forefront of every iteration of the World Cup. So to have it, swept under the rug in this way for Qatar is it really does not sit well with me.
I rock with you on that, like personally, but also like I feel like we all knew on a level a lot of this was performative anyway,
Oh, 100%.
right?
100%.
So like I try to measure my like disbelief on things or my anger on things like whenever people like step back from things on how performative I thought it was to like begin with. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't really expect much to come from like, the armbands, right? Like I think we said on a pod before, like if they were really about this life, like they wouldn't be here. You know what I mean?
Whoo, that part. That part.
So like, the idea that they're not wearing the armbands anymore, it's like, okay, got
Yeah.
it. But like, I guess I'm more I'm more concerned with now that the games are actually here, I'm more concerned with actually learning about Qatar and like their whole like perceived get down on this
Hmm.
because they're here now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like no matter what you want to say about how they're treating people while they're in the country, like so on and so forth, like they have etched their name in the world like conversation forever now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like we as the world need to get used to having them in the conversation, because now they've hosted a World Cup. Now they own a soccer club in Paris. Like, like Qatari Airways is like fastly becoming like a worldwide known brand. Like they are achieving these goals,
Mm-hmm.
and whether or not you like them at the table, they have forced their way onto the table,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
That's a fact.
So like I've kind of concerned myself less with the performative activism of like, oh, what if the Qataris are doing this, the Qataris are doing that, and more like learning about their actual get down and like how bad it actually is.
Yeah.
So like you can actually start to have informed discussions about this
100%.
when they start popping up at other places.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for checking out Chop Soccer Pod's Short Corners. For more, check us out on Twitter @Chop Soccer Pod and Instagram @Chop Soccer Pod. You know the vibes.